Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Thursday, January 24th, 2019. Let's take a look at some solar conditions over here at thegrandsolarminimum.com space weather page. At last check for stats on January 24th, 2019, 23:19 GMT time, same as UTC. Taking a look at solar wind speeds, were reported at 604. KP indices only got up to about a 3 today, or 4, sorry, for the 24-hour max, and I'll show you that. Density is sitting around a 5.2, and it's dropping as we speak. Solar wind speeds, I did see them peak right around the 650 region today. They are starting to slow down as we speak right now. The KP indice did max out at a 3. Let's take a look at the current stats here. Alright, here we go. So we did actually just now break into a G1 storm conditions as of just now as we went live. We have now reached the classifications of a G1 storm. Let's see if SPACEWEATHER.com is reporting this as well. We'll hit the refresh button here. Their solar wind speeds are a little bit lower, but they are reporting it as well. So in real time, we are now into that predicted G1 storm 3 hours before the 29th had ended. By the way, we do have a sunspot, AR 2733. We'll get a better look at her here just in a second. I'll take us out of that screen real fast. I said real fast. Thank you. All right, so moving quite along here. Zoom in on our sunspot, AR 2733, and there you see her right there, starting to decay as it becomes Earth facing. So very weak, typical solar minimum type sunspot here. We tend to see these pretty much fade out pretty quickly as well. And that's it on the sun right now. Nothing coming around the eastern limb, nothing real visible at this point. And we'll confirm that here. First, let's take a look at the SDO in motion. As we have, there is AR 2731, or I'm sorry, AR 2733. That coronal hole is turning away from us. We have another coronal hole region that we will begin to monitor. This, if anything, will brush the southern part of our magnetic field and give us some minor solar wind increases. I don't really expect any kind of storm activity from this particular coronal hole. There's your current sunspot, and then this was an area we thought we might have to maybe monitor, but as it turns closer to Earth, it definitely looks like it is fading out, then getting stronger. Now I want to take us over to what we're looking at as far as the front side and the back side. There is that eastern limb sunspot area that could be an active region only. Let's zoom out just a little bit here. Get a better look at this. And right now we might have one active region that could be coming around the bend on the eastern limb of our sun. Nothing as of yet to be concerned of. This is a newly formed area of activity, as here on this map we don't even see the possibility of the sunspot AR 2733, so that one is quickly fizzling out as we speak. Alright, let's get into TSI readings. Right now we are looking at a TSI reading for January 14th, 2019. Came in at 1360.6792, staying very consistent at that value as of late. Taking a look at some headlines, got a few of them from the watchers. Lots of good stuff going on right now as far as covering this kind of weather, from earthquakes to snowstorms to rain to tornadoes to volcanoes. We've got it all tonight. Powerful, strong, very strong storm in the Mediterranean Sea forming right now. Strong winds, huge waves, heavy rain, snow, and ice is expected. So everything with this storm. Big powerful storm has formed in the Mediterranean over the past 24 hours. The first in a series of at least 3 upcoming cutoff lows over the central Mediterranean will cause excessive snowfall for parts of southeast Europe over the next 2 days. Service. Let's see here. Meteorologist here saying that the deep low will deepen rapidly over the northern Tyrrhenian Sea on Thursday, deepening to close to about 980 HPA central pressure. It will cause a windstorm over the west central Mediterranean and move into the central Mediterranean Ionian Sea by Friday. Large waves affected the western Mediterranean on Thursday. The maximum wave height was around 26 to 29 feet. Menorca got around 19 to 23 foot waves, and a few others here, 33 to 46 feet along the parts of coast of Algeria. This storm, expect major waves across southern and central Mediterranean, particularly on the western and southern coast of Sicily. Waves reaching maximum heights of up to 33 feet are expected on Friday, pushing towards eastern Mediterranean, have affecting the coast of Libya and western southern Crete, with waves up to, it says here, about 30 feet. Taking a look at these satellite images here. Thanks again to watchers.news. The big concern right now, of course, is the high winds, the heavy rain. And, of course, there will be some snow to talk about as well. Taking a look at this weather map from AccuWeather, a large and powerful storm which could be dubbed as a metacane will bring impactful weather to millions of people from Italy to the Balkan Peninsula. Now, interesting enough, metacane, we haven't heard that term since their summer season, metacane. And also, we're going to mention something along the lines here of another unseasonably weather event. And I totally messed this up, but I didn't see this connection earlier. That storm, by the way, was just breaking on watchers.news. But this one right here, monsoonal conditions and cyclone developing in the north, unusual wintry weather striking southwestern Australia. This is another area that is seeing some unseasonably weather here in Australia. This is January, so this is their summer. What they're seeing right now in southwest Australia is more of a wintry condition. So we're looking at a summertime-like storm forming in the dead of winter in the Mediterranean, and then we have this wintry type weather hitting the southwestern part. Is that what it said? Southwestern? Yeah, southwestern Australia. It says water levels on today's tide could exceed the highest tide of the year. Here we are talking about wave heights once again. Concurrently, a flood watch has been issued for northern Cape York Peninsula catchments, with flood watch area likely to be extended further south during the coming days. The monsoon trough lies over a far northern Gulf of Carpentania, Cape York Peninsula, and the northwest Coral Sea, and will remain active well into the weekend. Here we're talking about areas of heavy rainfall, and thunderstorms are likely to increase over far north Queensland. Coastal districts including Port Douglas, Cairns during the Australian Day long weekend, with heavy falls possible for areas which have already received significant rainfall and flooding over recent weeks. With ravine and flash flood possible, visitors to the area are urged to familiarize themselves with local roads and conditions. A tropical low currently embedded within the trough near Cape York Peninsula is expected to move slowly southwestward or southeast over the coming days and is likely to develop over water. Meanwhile, southwestern Australia is ending a dose of wild wintry weather. After a string of typical summer days in the region, a developing low-pressure system is bringing a cool change, heavy rain, and damaging winds, gusts up to 56 miles an hour, possible. This weather is very unusual for this time of year, says the BOM senior forecaster Adam Conroy. It's more typical of a strong winter storm, so it's pretty rare to get one of these systems developing in January. This sort of weather will be quite wintry and windy, so given that a lot of people would be out having their summer holidays, it's important that they listen to the warnings. Interesting. And I want to just say in your face to those of you who are picking on one region and saying that, that weather alone is responsible for continuing global warming. And I'm referring to Australia breaking the record heat temperatures that I've seen in some of the headlines. I've had one individual tell me that because of the high temperatures in Australia during summer, that GSM is not legit, it's not real, blah, blah, blah. And then you have this story come out today where we're talking about wintry conditions in a part of the world that should be experiencing nothing but summer-like conditions. So what do you got to say about that, I guess is what I'm saying. Anyway, enough of that. Strong explosion at Popocatépetl volcano in Mexico. This is one of a few here that I want to talk about. This one took place on January 23rd. Also January 22nd, the eruption threw incandescent fragments into distance of 1.2 miles over the slopes of the volcano. Ash was dispersed in a northeasterly direction, suggesting ashfall localities that sectored near that area. We had ash plume about 25,000 feet above sea level. That was at 4:08 UTC. Ash is expected to dissipate over the next 12 hours, so it has, or so it should have, I should say. Here's some pictures of the eruption at night. See if we can get a live action look here. Wow. Quite the flash. All right then. The last 24 hours, Popocatépetl volcano monitoring system registered 94 exhalations. Additionally, 68 minutes of low amplitude harmonic tremors were observed in 2 volcano-tectonic earthquakes, one at a mag 2.3 and a mag 1.9. We'll leave a link in the description. Another volcano to talk about. This also happened on the 23rd. Increased volcanic activity at Fuego. Lava flows likely Guatemala. The volcano is generating weak, moderate, and strong explosions at a rate about 15 to 25 per hour. So, since the 21st of January here, ash plumes are rising up to about 15,700 feet above sea level, dispersing to the west and southwest. Source of the volcanic material that rises up about 980 feet high is producing an abundant, moderate, and strong avalanches that descend through Las Lajas, Seca, Ciñas, and the Honda ravines. Rumbling sounds produced by the explosions are being heard up to 9.3 miles from the volcano and are reaching areas of Ciudad Vieja, Antigua, Guatemala, Escuintla, Santa Lucia, and several other cities that are of the Hispanic origin, I should say. I attempted as many as I thought I could do, I guess. Due to this increased volcanic activity, there's a possibility that lava flows could be generated in the days ahead. Weak white degassing was observed, rising 14,000 feet above sea level on January 23rd. There are now 12 to 15 explosions reported per hour, and ash column rising approximately 14,000 to 400,000 feet. Again, we'll leave the details in the description. Another volcano to talk about. Manam actually was in the news twice since the 23rd, and I was going to mention that today as well, but then this happened today. Another 55,000 feet ash plume has been put into the atmosphere by Manam once again. A new high-impact eruption took place at Manam volcano at Papua New Guinea around 1620 UTC on January 24th. The volcano is continuously erupting now for more than 24 hours and has destroyed telecommunication towers, water sources, and other infrastructure. Local residents are sending out calls for immediate evacuation. So this is not a warning, this is a get out. Volcanic ash up to 55,000 feet above sea level moving west was observed on satellite imagery taken 1700 UTC. Ongoing volcanic ash is expected at the 18,000 feet moving east. High eruption level now appears to have ceased and is expected to dissipate within the next 12 hours. But the one thing that struck me in this is, this is the longest they've seen this erupt in a 24-hour period. They're used to seeing 2 hours of eruption from this volcano, not 24 hours plus. And like I said, on the 23rd, I was going to report that we had an eruption of 50,000 feet. So here we are listening it out right now. January 23rd, 50,000 feet. January 11th, to 50,000 feet. So you add in the 24th, which was a 55,000 feet eruption, The 23rd was a 50,000, and then January 11th was a 50,000. Another 55,000 on New Year's Day, and then December of 2018, heavy ash fall. Then we had an eruption around October 5th of around 34,000 feet, and then we had a weak explosion right around, well, I can't say that either. A 15 kilometer is not weak. That's right around the 50,000 explosion. So these are the high impact eruptions that we've had since August of 2018. And right now, we're sitting at about 7 high impact eruptions. So we'll continue to monitor this, but Manam has been in the news quite a bit here as of late. Switching gears now, a massive tornado hits Turkey, leaving 1 dead, 1 missing, 10 injured. Very large tornado hit the city of Antalya, Turkey's tourism capital, on January 24th, leaving at least 1 person dead, 1 missing, 10 injured. Major damage was reported in Kumukla and Finlik districts. Officials said a 13-year-old girl has been killed. 10 people were injured. 20-year-old woman was still missing after a vehicle her mother was driving was dragged into a stream by the tornado. Tornado damaged many vehicles, agricultural estates, and greenhouses. 2 people are severely injured, according to their governor. Here's some footage here, thanks to the watchers. That is, I believe, the beginning of... Looks like the beginning of this tornado here. Again, these folks really... hopefully they realize the dangers before they take these images. This is really, really too close for my comfort, I tell you that right now. Absolutely incredible footage. Severe Weather EU has some good stuff too. That's a huge picture right there, guys. Big damaging tornado. January, Turkey. I mean, parts of this region have seen snowfall, tornadoes. There's another water spout. Tons of damage. You guys can check out all of the footage here at watchers.news. Damaging tornado reported in Central Florida, January 24th, 2019, 1742 UTC time. And once again, tornado now. There was no deaths, there was no injuries, but still, 8 other structures sustained moderate to minimum damage. A tree fell down in a church cemetery. So, I mean, the pictures are worse than what it was. No one was hurt. No one was killed. Just a lot of damage to pick up right now. A lot of downed trees. Some damage to some buildings here. But still, part of the year where we don't expect tornadoes in January here in Florida. Very strange weather. Mid-tsunami is what they have called this, a small one. The squall line earlier this morning on the west coast of the Florida Peninsula. Here are plots of observations in radar with OBS site at the dot. Now, this is per Stu Ostro on Twitter. And like I said, just a lot of down power lines, down trees, heavy amounts of rain had fallen as well. Leave a link in the description. And quickly, well, we had talked about this already, I guess. The monsoonal situation in Australia, southwestern, again, we have heat records being destroyed on one part of the continent, and then snowy, wintry weather expected on the southwestern part of the continent. And then we go to Canada. And I wanted to bring this story up real quick because there's not a lot of coverage on Canada. And I think it's important that these guys get thrown into the mix because they're the ones they're experiencing the most extreme of these temperatures right now. But I'll read here from the CBC. All week, pedestrians have waded down to snow-clogged sidewalks, scramble over neck-high drifts, cars and trucks that weren't stuck in the winter gridlock fishtailed around icy corners, while transit users waiting for late buses consider themselves lucky when their routes weren't canceled altogether. This winter happens in Ottawa, but city officials are describing this week's conditions as the perfect storm and are warning residents it's not over. That is definitely not normal, said the city's city manager, Bryden Dinez. With extreme cold temperatures and then snow, it poses challenges for us getting the snow cleared. Road salt is also less effective when temperatures dip below negative 18 degrees Celsius. In a major snowstorm, plows tackle priority roads, bike lanes before moving on to residential roads and sidewalks. But with snow coming down as heavily as it has, it's difficult for them to remove right now. As fast as they're plowing, the snow is building up right away. And you know, some of you folks out there were kind of razzing me a little bit for the update videos I did on Harper. You know, living in Southwest Ohio, we don't see these kinds of snow events. 2 feet of snow is quite rare. It happened one other time I can remember back in 2005, I believe, where we got around 18 to 20 inches of snow right before Christmas. But, you know, when you see these conditions, and I don't care if you're used to them or not, they're still stunning to me. Right now, the situation we have outside with all the rain we had today, I was shocked to see the snow didn't really go down that much. For 1 inch to 2 inches of rain today, again, the snow is still here and waterlogged and will freeze up and will turn into Igloo City here in this part of the country. So that's a new challenge that I'll be dealing with. And it's a possibility, like, when you think about things and the weather system that brought 16 inches, then we freeze up and we're all ice. What if we had another storm system that comes through and drops another foot? So we got a foot of snow on top of a bunch of ice underneath. Well, Ottawa is also dealing with some very, very, very cold air. Wind chill factors are in the negative 30s, negative 40s. So for all of us out there who think we've got cold weather now, it is nowhere as cold as it is up near in Ottawa and parts of Canada as well that's experiencing this Arctic blast before we do. And I want to talk about another area that's talking about a lot of snow actually here. Caribou, Maine, one of America's snowiest places, nearing its all-time snowiest month. The record, guys, they are 10 inches away for tying the all-time record for the snowiest month. Now, there's a series of weather systems, which I'll show you here just in a few, that are going to show us that we're going to get more than that 10 inches. But it's closing in on 50 inches of snow this month, which is already the city's snowiest January on record. And now it's making it run an all-time snowiest month in history. Through Wednesday, 49.9 inches of snow had piled up through northeastern Maine cities since January 1st. More than 31 inches of snow above average by at this point. And it's also interesting to point out that they are also sitting at 111 inches of snow right now. And it's January. And I think the yearly average in this area, here we go. So their yearly average is 111 inches of snow each winter. And right now they're sitting at 101.7 inches. So not only are they going to break a record for January being the all-time snowiest month, this could go down as one of the snowiest winters in the record books here for Caribou, because like I said, we get into the outlook here with the GFS forecast. There will be plenty of opportunities for Caribou to get those 10 inches within the next 6 days, easily. All right, let's go to what's up with that. And I'm sure all of you have seen this young lady here, Ocasio-Cortez, Alicia Ocasio-Cortez, that's what I call her. She's in it again about climate change, telling people that we're all going to die. Let's see where the volume is on this. I want you to be able to hear this. Guys, tell me if this makes any sense to you whatsoever.
And I think that the part of it that is generational is that millennials and people and
Caribbean, the multimedia marketplace,
are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue...
All right, so it's not coming in very well.
Caribbean, the multimedia marketplace.
Plus, this guy, it's the ad. It's the ad in the video, believe it or not. So I'll just go ahead and read you the craziness that Ocasio-Cortez was trying to say here. And she says, and I think that part of it is generational, is that millennials and people...
I thought you were going to do an accent or just an impersonation.
Okay. And I think that the part of it is generational, and that millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world's going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. Your biggest issue is how are you going to pay for it? And this is like the war. This is our World War II, okay? So, and I think the younger people are looking at this like, how are we saying let's take it easy when 3,000 Americans died last year?
You sound like Mr. Garrison.
Died from what? I mean, this girl is just like, these people must have been paid to clap or encourage, because she goes off onto like way off the tracks here. How are we saying take it easy? America living in a dystopia with people sleeping in their cars and can't work a second job without health care, and we're told to settle down. It's a fundamental separation between the fierce urgency of now, the why we can't wait that King spoke of. Oh God. So she's like a garbage disposal of cliche one-liners here. She brings MLK into this. That's absolutely pathetic. Talk about, if I was African American or any kind of minority and listening to this crap right here, this is the person that's supposed to be representing yourself and your party, and this woman doesn't have any idea what she's talking about. She has no clue what she's talking about. She don't care about facts. She cares about morals. And she gets out here and makes claims like 3,000 Americans died last year. Yeah, from what? 3,000 Americans die every year, I'm sure. Way more than that. But tell me, what does this have to do with the world going to end? And, she talks about, she's very vague. Your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? She's saying, how are we going to pay for the climate change part? That's your biggest issue? Yeah, obviously, you weren't paying attention while you were out complaining to the media about while you were complaining to the media that you couldn't afford an apartment until you got your first check. We did a broadcast talking about how much green energy costs, how much more money electricity costs when you develop green energy. So yeah, it is a big deal on how we're going to pay for it. When things like this, your CO2 taxes and your increase in green energy and what it does to the electrical grid and how much it costs to buy electricity, that's a huge factor. But she just kind of forgets what she's talking about and goes on from the world's going to end from climate change to 3,000 Americans died to, this is our World War II, and this is my favorite. Until we start pitching in and holding people accountable, I'm just going to let them have it. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She says that at some point a chronic reality it reached breaking point. I think for our generation it reached that. I wish I didn't have to be doing every post. But sometimes I feel like people aren't being held accountable. Until we start pitching in and holding people accountable, I'm just going to let them have it. What does that mean? What the hell does that mean? Let us have it with your stupidity? Is that a word? Stupidity? I think it is for her. So, how are we going to take care of the carbon? Well, here we go. Scientists, look at this, guys. Scientists turn to carbon emissions into usable energy. Oh, really? This looks fun. CO2, okay. Yeah, H2 stations, future. I read this, and you're probably thinking, yeah. Everybody has an idea about how to, get alternative fuel. And what I like about this article is it talks about carbon capture technology. And this guy breaks it down into how he will convert CO2 into energy. If a battery system is created based on this phenomenon, electricity can be produced by removing CO2. Well, hello, Cortez. Aren't we doing our part now? By letting scientists come up with great research like this, new papers, new technology, new fuel. But I bet this ain't cheap. But at least we now know what to do with the CO2 besides let the plants all have it. Glad to see that we are finding new ways to do research with CO2 and what the benefits are, not just to the plants. Apparently now us people out there can convert CO2 into energy, into H2 stations. Is it the all answer? Is it something that we could eventually wean ourselves from? The burning gas? Maybe. You think about it this way, you got the H2 stations, you don't have to worry about too much CO2, right? Okay. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about taking CO2 out of the atmosphere, which could hurt agriculture in some areas, all right? We're also talking about converting CO2 into energy. That's the smart part of it. We need to do more research and make sure this would be sustainable. Temporary is one thing. Sustainable, constant is another. Because we all know the peak of the CO2 era is where the cold begins. And once we bottom out at the cold, of course, we will see CO2 numbers drop back down low once again. So how sustainable is this technology going to be in 50 to 100 years from now? We'll just have to continue to monitor and see. But I like the idea. I think it's great. And for Cortez's crazy ass, that's one way we can pitch in, is start converting some of that dangerous, what you call dangerous CO2, into energy. But it sounds like it could be cheaper than the actual green policies that you're trying to push. I mean, think about it, people. 409 parts per million CO2 right now. And most scientists are saying that humans are contributing 35 to 45 parts per million. That means the other 350 parts per million is being thrown in the atmosphere naturally. And there is no way that our 35 to 45 parts per million is driving the climate. One of my big things about this argument about climate is this, based on this article right here. First detection of climate change on another planet, ? This isn't the first, because I've heard a few things about how atmosphere is changing all over the solar system, because we all do share the same sun, and we're all going through the same solar cycles. So this makes sense to me. Research talking about surface winds and atmospheric winds and the rotation, and there is correlations of positioning of sun and the wind. And, they're saying that winds that are excited due from heating from the sun are known as solar thermal tides. Just a lot of wind and sun talk here about their climate on Venus. And the best part about this is that this is part of my theory as well, that it's not just here on Earth that we're seeing atmospheric and climate change issues. And the best part about seeing and reading articles like this, it's an indication that the sun does drive the climate. The quote here, if solar tides drive the super rotating winds, this may imply that the cloud albedo, how reflective the clouds are, may have changed over time and affected the impact of the solar radiation. Same thing we're dealing with here. And I promise you, it's not all that fossil fuel we're burning here on Earth that's affecting Venus. But that would be a great argument I'd love to see Al Gore and his friends come up with. That would be awesome. If they could somehow say, well, what's going on is CO2 is traveling through the Birkeland current. And as the Birkeland current is going from the planet Earth that's making its rounds, it's dropping off CO2 around the solar system. So we got to stop it because we're killing the solar system now. No. Research like this is going to continue to happen. And just like I suspected and many others in this community, the sun drives the climate, and proof is coming out of this research paper here talking about Venus and its current changes that's happening right now for its climate. You don't say. There was another fact that was kind of funny about the crazy girl here. Where's it at? The world ended 20 years ago. It was announced by the UN in 1989, a few months before AOC. I guess that's what the cool cats are calling her now. AOC, before she was born. It reads here, June 30th, 1989, a senior environmental official says nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels and global, I can't even say it because it's retarded. A global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000.
Oh my God.
By the year 2000. So, guys, we've already outlived the future. The future that predicts in the year 2000. Global warming will wipe off mankind in the year 2000. All right. Just had to throw that in. I was excited about that one tonight. Oh, this is sad. Buyback by popular demand from the bottom of our little hearts. Breitbart is selling a bunch of the antacid hearts for Valentine's Day as this company is going out of business. They close their doors abruptly and they're really going bye-bye. So here's their last ditch. This is the last time you're going to get it. I'd like to make some for Al and say, be my glacier. Or, it's the sun, stupid. Those would be great ones. And just have like an Al Gore bag of Valentine's Day candy that was dedicated. All right. So that's all I had tonight for the headlines. As far as our prediction center, or what we call here, just taking a look at the GFS models, this is what we have so far. I'll go ahead and update this because I like doing that live. So Wednesday into Thursday, this actually didn't update all the way, so let me refresh. I love live shows. Okay, there we go. Let's start from Thursday. Here we go. So that storm that we had today that was all rain is going to change to snow into the northeast. Parts of upstate New York and eastern Pennsylvania will also see snow as we run through this on Friday. The system moves up pretty fast. Maine, Caribou, a couple inches maybe. Some lake effect snows coming in on Friday, January 25th. We get cold air once again to the region, often on snow showers throughout the northeast through Sunday into Monday. A quick little clipper system comes through the Midwest, the Great Lakes. Hello, Radical Gardener. You may get some snow out of this one January 29th. Indiana, Southwest Ohio, all of Ohio, before it heads into the northeast. This could be just a quick 5 to 8 inches of snow on Tuesday into Wednesday with light snow trailing this system. More cold air comes in from Canada. Our neighbors, actually, they stole that cold air from the Arctic, but they're letting it in our country, so it's going to be your fault for now, Canada. Anyway, colder air dips down into the deep south by the end of the month. Lake effect snows in western New York, northeast Ohio, Erie, Pennsylvania. The snow machine gets turned on by then for sure. It looks like it just snows for a few days straight in western New York. And then finally, after a couple of days of a lull in the system, which we just have maybe one storm in the northwest that kind of fizzles out as it gets into the Rockies, we do have more systems forming in Michigan, the Great Lakes. Once again, you'll get more snow. Moves into the northeast as a quick little clipper. And then another massive snowstorm trailing the northern plains into, guess what, Michigan again. And it's going to stay on track to stay in the northeast. More snow for us February 4th. And another major low-pressure system tries to get its act together on February 4th. Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, this is going to be a storm that's going to stretch all the way to the northwest. This one looks like it's going to stay mainly in the Atlantic states, kind of like the first one we had before we got the big storm in the northeast. So, and that ice line once again in Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina, we got to keep an eye on that as the battle zone for the south. And then on February 6th, the system kind of regenerates, picks up some steam, and heads up into the northeast for some more snow. Maine, you should have already broken your snow record for the year by this point, but if you hadn't then, you will by the 7th of February. And then as we look at the 8th and 9th, which is still quite a ways away, we have another storm system that is starting to get its act together. I want to show the temperatures as well, because this cold air is not going anywhere anytime soon, folks. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. We're starting to get that cold air filter back in. Actually, let's update this and get it started on the right day. So here we are right now. That warmer air is finally moving out. The rain is gone. Things are changing to snow as we speak. there's that next batch of cold air coming in. By the way, Chicago, you are going to rival some very cold air over the next few days. In fact, it is a possibility that by next week, midweek, that you could set the new record in Chicago at minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit. And here we are. This is the cold air I'm talking about. Tuesday, January 29th, negative 25 in parts of Minnesota. We go into Wednesday. Illinois is starting to get that cold air outbreak. Wednesday, negative 17 in parts of Wisconsin. Michigan, look out. Radical Gardener, negative 10 in your neck of the woods. And here comes that real cold air. Negative 26 by Wednesday, January 30th. And it spreads a little bit further south. Now, guys, this kind of cold air that they're talking about here is going to rival the 2014 polar vortex outbreak, and right now also is rivaling some records from 85 from that polar vortex outbreak. And this is January 30th at the evening hours, negative 14 in northeast Ohio. I remember living in southwest Ohio, and we got to negative 14, negative 17 early January in 2014. So that cold air not quite making it that far south. But Chicago, there's predictions that you're going to break that negative 27. And then finally that cold air kind of lets up a little bit. But let's look at this, guys. This cold air spreads even further south. Forget about 20s in the far south. We've got 0 and negative 0 temperatures in Kentucky and Tennessee. Okay? That's something we don't have every day. Those folks, and I'll tell you, some of these houses, for instance, in the Panhandle of Florida, they're not built with furnaces. Big problems. Thursday, cold finally retreats back up into Canada. The Northeast and upper Midwest stays very, very, very cold in the beginning of February. That really cold air sticks around the Northeast a little bit longer. Another trough tries to make its way back into the United States by February 2nd. Again, pushing more cold air. This is wave number 2 into the upper Midwest, but nowhere as strong as that first batch. But we're still seeing in the areas, this is a perfect example of what was predicted for this winter as far as temperatures go. This was it. This is what they were talking about. This was the areas that was going to be the cold all year long. And that's the way it's been, really, for the most part. We're starting to see some, there's your battle zone line right there, right where they said it was going to be. But this has been the overall trend for cold temperatures so far. Now, we do have some indication that we could see a quick thaw, but it's very weak. We're talking 37 degrees for a high in Cincinnati. That's not much of a thaw for February. That's actually not bad for February, but still, not that warm. And then we've moved into the 4th. More cold air starting to invade the lower 48. Again, the upper Midwest. Possibility looking at some cold temperatures, but still not as cold as that first blast that we're getting midweek next week. But most of the country is staying well below freezing, and that cold line pushing south once again. As we get to the 8th of February, cold air will not let up, folks. And let's think about the folks up north of us, too, in Canada. How tough this is going to be for them. If we're going to be experiencing negative 27, they're in the negative 30s and negative 40s. So winter has locked in, folks. There is no doubt about that. Take a look at snow depth here over the next several. Let me update this first. I do apologize for being tardy on my updates, folks. I wanted to give you the up-to-date, That's what we do here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel. So let's take a look at the next 10 days for snowfall. Look at that. Quite a bit. Upstate New York, we're back on the hook for about another 2 feet of snow in far parts of upper New York, but across the Albany area and up, you're looking at 6 to 10 inches, all the way up to another 14 to 18 inches on northward. And you can clearly see that snow line. A lot of the upper Midwest, Michigan, you might finally see over a foot of snow. Parts of Detroit, Radical Gardener, you're going to get your, well, I don't know if you were wishing for the snow, but I know you were talking about the lack thereof, and you're getting your share of cold weather and snow over the next several 10 to 15 days. Sorry to report that, my friend. But that's the snow and cold situation that we're looking at. Let's look at ocean temps. Update this real quick. Cooling, guys. Right before your eyes. As I refresh that, the temperatures continue to cool. in the regions where we need to see the so-called El Niño. I'm calling it the El No-No. This right here continues to drop well below threshold. Guys, we need to see 28s across the board here. 28s, where my arrow is. Not happening. The North Atlantic is just doing whatever the heck it wants right now. It's up and down. I always refer to it as drunk. And El No-No, as of today, has dropped all the way down to 0.314 above baseline. So right now we are reporting neutral conditions for the current El Nino situation. We are neutral, folks. And we've been in about the neutral state of mind probably about a little after Christmas. Peaked over the neutral threshold for a couple of days here in January, but that was very short-lived. Let's take a look at ice growth. See how we're doing these days here for 2019. And so far 2019 is off and running. It's already exceeding that line from 2012. And just for shits and giggles, it's definitely outperforming what we did last year in 2018. Indications continue to show that the ice extent in the Arctic is going to continue to grow as it has all year. And really at the end of 18, it started accelerating, in my opinion, especially rapidly. Look at the ice coverage up in the Arctic, still pretty full. Again, I don't remember these totals being this close to all the orange lines at all points for most of the winter like it was last year. There were some areas that were missing ice that should have probably had a little ice. But again, 2018 was not the best year for ice growth. And I think that's it. Yeah. Warnings. Lots of wind chills in the upper Midwest and the northern plain states. Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota. Winter weather storm advisories in parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And flood warnings. Winter weather statements across the Northeast. But the concern in most parts of central New York and upstate New York is going to be flooding, as we received nearly almost 2 inches of rain today in the area as a total for current totals today for rain. Anyway, so with that being said, Mari, I didn't know if you wanted to come over here and say hello to our lovely people out there in GSM land.
Hello, GSM land. It's Mari, and it's always a pleasure. At the beginning of the show, I was joking with our friends in the chat about our dog going into the kitchen, grabbing a mouthful of food, and coming right next to you by the mic and
can they hear
chomping on it.
Could they hear it?
I don't know.
Oh.
It just was like, I warned them. I'm like, if you hear any lip smacking or any kind of crunching, that's our dog.
He's a great guy, let me tell you.
He cracks me up.
Waylon trolls this show more than anybody I know, actually.
Between him and the cat with these live shows, I tell you.
The animals are trolling us.
So funny. Jonathan Nunn, thank you for the super chat. He is very appreciative of our updates. He says, great updates. Thank you.
We try.
Tom Nolan also, he says we're the best YouTube channel by far. So that's an honor.
That's a nice little compliment.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. I'm going to put some links in the chat. I'll put a link to my profile on the grandsolarminimum.com, which is coming along good. I spent all day on it. We are getting better every day with that. So definitely check the site out, sign in, be a part of the conversation in the forums I'm trying to start up. So take a look at it. If you have questions, shoot me a message and I will post my link in there. Ian, we were talking, someone said, baby, it's cold outside, and you know what that does.
Oh, yeah.
That triggers me.
That's a trigger.
Say,
I'm going to tweet about it now.
We sang Baby, It's Cold Outside. I'll post the link there, too. But Ian said we could sing for food if it goes all Mad Max.
I guess so.
I don't know who would pay us or even barter with us for singing that.
Maybe some really sick elites.
And then, last but not least, you were coining the phrase El No-No, right?
Yes.
Well, Grant has one-upped you.
Okay.
With Al No-No.
Al No-No. That is beautiful. In fact, Grant, that well done, and that will be the new phrase. No more El No-No. It is Al No-No.
So hello to everyone in the chat. I see Judy saying hi to me. Hello, concerned Canadian. Lots of people. Lots of new people. Welcome. And that's all I got, Jake. I'm going to post these links in the chat.
El Noah, you talking about?
No.
El Noah, what you talking about? Anyway. All right, so thank you for the update there, Mari. I'm glad to see we had a nice crowd tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Guys, please like and share. Remember to subscribe and hit that bell. We are having problems with getting notifications out. I didn't even get a notification for tonight's show. So make sure you check with the channel. Unfortunately, we do have an erratic schedule when it comes to live broadcast, but we do them when we can.
That's also, I'm going to try to integrate into the website as a notification system. The website is our home base, and as we go on, it's going to be developed further. And if you at least sign in and you're a part of the website, we can shoot out notifications when it does happen. It's a work in progress. So we have quite a few people signed up on it.
Nice.
And more to come.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you for tuning in for the latest Grand Solar Minimum News update. We will bring you news as it comes available. Talk soon, guys, and take care.